Welcome back to the Pink Flag Podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So I was fixing my hair. Looking at the screen and everything. And I was like, you know what? My hair would actually look a lot longer if my neck wasn't as long as it is.
I don't think you've got a freakishly long neck.
I get made fun of all the time for my neck. But it's because I'm tall,
Your neck looks the same as mine on camera.
It wouldn't look as long if I had a necklace on, but I'm not wearing a necklace tonight. So it would probably, because usually the necklace kind of breaks apart, the chest and the neck. So now it just kind of looks like I have the longest neck down to my boobs.
You're also like a foot taller than me, so.
Yeah, I am.
You're like half a foot taller than me. I shouldn't give you too much credit.
Yeah, my neck makes it kind of easy to be that. It's all neck.
Okay, so first off, I'm going to throw Emma under the bus because I got this little gem earlier.
Okay, so that's my laugh.
So that snort that you hear, that's Emma.
That was my laugh.
Oh my God.
God, that was so appalling. I apologize. And I was telling her, I was like, I don't know if I could replicate that to save my life.
I was like,
and then I immediately just did it. I was like, so like
Oh my God, that sounds disgusting.
Stop. No, it doesn't. It's a laugh. It's snort.
So gross. Do it again. No, because now you're just snorting. It's like you're...
No, because snorting's like breathing in. I was just like blowing out.
Yeah, no, you did that as an exhale.
It's more like a snore than a snort.
I can't make too much fun because I have that like asthma, like wheeze sound when I laugh too hard. I'm like...
Nothing happened. I don't know why that happened. That doesn't happen very often, so I apologize.
So I wanted to clarify something really quickly. I think it was my brother listens to our podcast, and in one of the episodes, when we were taking little sippy sips from our drink, apparently it sounded like we were taking a really fat rip off of a, how do I say this? A smoking device.
Should I replicate it? In case y'all weren't listening to the other podcast, it goes like this. Wait.
Well... And what didn't help was the fact that I immediately started choking right after.
Yeah. And then I go, choking.
So apparently that sounded a little bit worse than it actually was.
Yeah.
So for anyone that listens to our podcast on Spotify and does not watch it, I am not doing drugs, I promise. We're in a state where we go to jail for life.
New year, new us.
New year, new me.
Yeah.
So you wanted to talk about something today.
Yeah, so I was listening to a podcast today, as I do, and they were talking about long distance relationships, and I feel like we didn't really touch on this very much. I feel like this can work for anybody. Like, everybody's different relationships, what works best for them. I know you've touched on it. You've been in a long distance relationship before, but I've
actually been in two.
Oh, okay. Have I been in one? Well, how far is long distance, would you say? Like more than 2 hours?
6 hours, and one was 13. He lived.
Jesus. Yeah, the longest probably I'd been was maybe an hour and a half. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe 4 hours. Whatever. But yeah, they were basically saying it was just a scenario where two students, they're like 20 years old, they're together. They're going abroad for school, and one of them was studying in one part of the world, and the other one was going to the other part of the world for about 6 months. And they were kind of asking advice on, would this be feasible? Is it even possible for a relationship to stay strong and work through a 6-month time apart in different countries? So they kind of basically just talked about how when you're in your 20s and in your early years, I feel like you wouldn't when you're in college and stuff. And they basically just said, take time apart, say, hey, we'll come back together in 6 months, still love you, still want the best for you, but I can't be the best version of myself when I'm, tens of thousands of miles apart from you for 6 months. And when you can't see each other ever, you won't see each other for 6 months at all.
Especially being in a different time zone, that would be really tough. But I would probably agree in that situation. I think the first long distance relationship I was in, it would have been much smarter for us not to.
How long were you apart for that relationship? A whole year.
Well,
Damn.
Yeah, it was in one of my college years.
Okay.
So yeah, we were very, 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 6 hours apart. We got to see each other maybe once a month on like the weekend.
God.
So it
That'd be
wasn't
hard.
the worst thing in the world, but
And in your 20s, I feel like 6 months feels like 6 years in that kind of thing.
See,
like in a relationship that you're in love, like when you really love that person, 6 months is going to feel like such a long time.
well, and I feel like when you're in your early 20s, I don't necessarily know that I think that is the time to get into a very
Yeah.
serious relationship.
I was going to say that next.
I know there are a lot of men that disagree, and I think Andrew Tate had a little segment he was talking recently where he was basically talking to a woman who's in her 30s, and she's got this list of things that she's like, I deserve this, I deserve this, I deserve this, I deserve this, and he was basically like, hey, your prime is past.
Yeah. Well, also,
so he's like, women in men's eyes are at their prime, the most they're ever going to get out of the world, like 19 to early 20s. I don't necessarily agree with that, but
it's very situational, like
well,
very
and
different.
I can see where he's coming from
Each
in the
person,
sense
yeah.
that that's when you're the youngest,
No kids.
no kids,
No prior marriages.
no prior marriage, no prior
No
trauma,
baggage.
no bag. I mean,
For the most part, no.
Yeah.
No, you haven't solidified that baggage. Because I feel like if you have baggage from like 25 to like 28 to 30, and then you're like 34, 35 looking for that relationship, you've kind of solidified that baggage. If you haven't healed yourself, if you haven't like worked on like healing anything, you're going to come into like a set rules for this next man. You know what I'm saying? But,
Well-
and it's not that that's a bad thing for boundaries, but like at what point, like those, I just feel like a lot of women in those cases are going to be super, 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 super set in like what they're looking for in a man, and they're not going to like let it waver any which way. And they'll maybe nitpick the man a little more, you know? what I'm saying?
so and something you view as a negative, I view as a positive.
Sure.
So I can't tell you how many friends I have, either females or males, where the females are wanting to get out of a relationship they've been in that started when they were in their late teens, early 20s, and they're like, I never got to have those years to figure out who I am and to figure out what I wanted.
Yeah.
Those urges are going to come at some point in life.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
if you go ahead and get those out of your way in your teens and your early 20s, I think that's a much healthier way of kind of developing yourself. And I know Justin probably vehemently disagrees with me, but I've got a friend of mine who his wife, that's one of the things that they're separated, and she was like, I want to take time to figure out who I am and what I want.
As long as those paths to finding yourself and what you like and who you are aren't self like harmful, you know what I mean?
So they're not self-harmful, but
and
you're
I think,
gonna
like, I don't think like
you're gonna ruin your relationship.
yeah. So I don't think like being in a relationship and you're like, okay, well I need to go find myself, I need to go do this. That doesn't mean going out to like Miami and partying and clubbing and
No.
doing all this stuff that would portray yourself in a different light. Versus, taking a trip to Europe with some girlfriends, kind of like
Well, and this
enlightening yourself and
this
exploring
is not
those
an
kind of
excuse
things.
to have the quote unquote hoe
Hoe
years.
phase. Yeah. I would say the
I
hoe
don't-
phase is very detrimental.
I don't think that's necessarily good for you either, but I think taking time to really figure out who you are, what you want, what you want out of life, what you want out of a partner, and then taking that time to just kind of experiment, express yourself, like who I thought I was and what I thought I wanted at 19 is not at all who I am and what I want, 10 years later.
Yeah. And same with like the man too. If you have a man in his early 20s in a relationship, I feel like 9 times out of 10 that's bound to not work out the best unless you guys have the best partnership, which is supportive on both ends, knowing what he needs to grow, knowing what you need to grow spiritually as a woman, whatever. But I don't think a man's going to be completely ready to settle down, comfortable to do that, fulfilled, established, successful until later on in life when he's actually like, built his foundation, his career, his like goals are being met. He's starting to like have that confidence in himself.
Well, and can
be
we
able
talk
to-
about the concept of the First Wives Club?
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's something that I think we've talked about on one of our like joint podcasts with maybe Justin and Gage. So I know the women, like Elon Musk's first wife, Tom Cruise first wife.
Oh,
Most of
is this the
these-
concept of the Wolf of Wall Street you were talking about?
Yeah, so
Okay.
a lot of men will get in these situations where they have a woman who's great, but when they start to get those successes, they get this mindset of they always want more, they want more, they want more. I
Because
don't want
they
to be
can get
I don't,
more.
Well, and I've been in a situation with a guy where we were talking, we were dating, and he at one point expressed, like, honestly, I just want to sleep with a bunch of women. Like, I'm young. I don't want to be tied down to one person. That's boring to me. I want to get to have time to experiment. I want to be Dan Blitzerian for a little while. I'm like, okay, first off, Dan Blitzerian is a multi-millionaire. He can afford to do that.
He can do those things.
Second off, that's a quick way to get a science infection in your genitals.
That's what you call it?
I don't necessarily agree with the whole concept of the hoe phase, but I do think it's important to take a couple of years to figure out who you are and what you want, because those women, and yes, I do think at some point in life, highly successful women will kind of have these check boxes, right?
Sure.
These guys, they have to check. Steve Harvey wrote a book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. And then there's a movie adaptation that was done. One of the women is like super successful.
I love that movie.
And she really struggled to find a partner because of her her checklists. You know, she's in her late 30s, early 40s. She's a very attractive woman. She makes a lot of money, but some men see that as...
They're intimidated by it.
They're intimidated.
They see it as competition rather than complimentary.
Yeah.
So they'll see you, instead of just having you to like fill in like those other pieces that are missing from his life, he's going to see you as a competition. So if you make more money than him, that's great. You can be that boss babe, whatever they say now.
A lot of men aren't okay with that though.
And they're not. A lot of them aren't, because it's not naturally what they're striving for, because
I mean,
they want to be they want to be the breadwinner. And I was actually thinking about this earlier. It's okay in some relationships for the woman to be the breadwinner, the man to stay home, take care of the house, but in most cases, like in some cases that works, but in most cases that's not very feasible.
I don't think that's fulfilling most people's biological needs.
No, exactly.
So I don't think they're necessarily going to be fulfilled unless they take action to like have hobbies and to have things outside of
the
their
relationship
normal structure to make sure that they feel properly fulfilled.
Yes.
So, but I know, so you touched on it because you were basically saying you don't think long distance relationships are necessarily the best thing, but
no, for me, no.
But the last one that I was in, I felt like I did extremely well.
Yeah.
But
and like I said, it works for some people, and for other people, it actually like, because my thing is, and I was watching some therapist say this on, I don't know if it was a TikTok or it was a small clip, and he was saying basically like, it's okay for some people to thrive in relationships and not thrive outside of relationships, because some relationships will motivate you. And that's why I want a man who is in a position higher than me, like when it comes to like his life being fulfilled and his job status, whatever, because that's going to motivate me to kind of match it and compliment him in that way. Because I want to look like I belong with, not like belong with him, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess competition wise, but, yeah, he was saying how basically, and I think I thrive more in relationships because I like having someone that motivates me, that sees my dreams. And I have a praise kink. I really do when it comes to life. So I do really bad with criticism, not that I don't agree with it, but because it doesn't motivate me as much as I need it to. And it's not that I don't, it's because I already criticize myself so much that when I get criticism from other people, because I'm already OCD as shit with everything that I do, I'm like, yes, I've already seen that. I know I need to work on that, whatever. Tell me what I'm doing right, because maybe that's just like me being a brat, but that's how I work in relationships and in life in general. Because I've just been like, I feel like it stems from childhood stuff. Like I've just been criticized my whole life, like with sports, with academics, with everything. It was always like, come up with a grade. I was happy to get a B on this because everyone else had a D or an F or a C. They're like, why didn't you get an A? So my thing is, if you tell me what I'm doing right, I want to keep doing that. Don't tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I don't know how to fix it because I thought it was right. So
did you get a lot of like praise or affirmation as a child, or was it a lot? So
no,
I had a very different childhood.
I get a lot of praise as an adult now that, childhood trauma stuff is getting fixed. But as a kid, it was never really prioritized. It was more so what I needed to fix was prioritized always.
So to kind of flip side of that, I would say I'm on the opposite spectrum of that because I got a lot of praise as a child. I mean, I was raised by my dad, who was very loving, grandparents who are absolutely super loving. So I feel like I appreciate, and I'm also not completely neurotypical for any of you guys that don't know me well. Brain's a little funky. But I was going to say earlier, I feel like I thrive in long distance relationships because I'm kind of fiercely independent. So I feel like with the way my brain works, it kind of allows me to categorize time properly. But also, what I feel like I really liked about that is when we spent time together, it was 100% quality time.
Because you had everything else done that you needed to have done.
So yeah, if I was going to go see my partner, I would like work my butt off to make sure my work stuff was done. If I had to do work stuff, it was very minimal. But then the amount of time that we spent together was like pure quality time.
Sure.
So I appreciated that. And then also like we kept up, you know, through text message and stuff. So I don't think, especially in the age of technology, like my first long distance relationship was about 10 years ago. And that one was way more difficult because at the time we had Skype, which was incredibly non-reliable. Your connection would glitch out. It would just stop working. Like this was, I mean, we didn't really have FaceTime and stuff as well. So now, age of technology, you can FaceTime with your partner. We would play Xbox and stuff together a lot. So we still had hobbies.
You do those Netflix rooms where you watch the show at the same time and chat about it. I've done that with an ex before.
So we would do things like that. So it's kind of like our date nights were a little atypical. I will say I'm happier not in long distance relationships because it can be really difficult. But
my thing is like if I can say I can do a long distance relationship with you, I'm not that into you because I have a very, and I was talking to you about this. I feel like I have like
the attachment
styles. So, I feel like I have a very anxious attachment style. I want to say I'm avoidant, but I'm not.
No.
Because if I try to avoid you, I'm going to be like, why aren't you chasing me? And then I'll try to chase you again. Like, that's just how I am. So,
well, you do the chasing as an attempt to get the other person, like you do the running as an attempt to get the other person to chase you.
Exactly. And when they don't, that's where my issues kick in. So,
and I think it may have been a conversation with my therapist or it may have been something I read, but they were basically saying that what you crave as an adult is what you didn't get as a child.
Yeah. And I thought of it as what I did get as a child is what I was trying to get as an adult or acting on as an adult.
It's usually what you were missing out, I think.
And you opened my eyes to that because I was like, well, as a child, I was kind of not forced, but I was kind of like left to fend for myself. Like when I was upset, going through like breakups, going through teenage girl years stuff.
Yeah.
It was always like, why are you crying? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Go to your room. So I would go to my room and, you know, deal with it myself. So as an adult, I was like, oh, I've dealt with this all my life by myself. I don't need to like, I would always shut down and deal with it myself. But I found when I would allow my partner to be there for me and like comfort me in those situations, it was 20 times better. So I guess, and I'm just now realizing this at 25 years old, that I need to rely on more people. But as a kid, it's all you know is when you're dealing with it yourself. You don't really like think about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. There's a book I'm gonna try to find the name of and like you can read it because it basically talks about like where your anxious attachment styles come from. Very interesting.
Yeah. Gotta work on that though.
But I mean, I was very fulfilled and nurtured as a child, but I, for the most part, just wanted to be left alone. So I feel like
you probably felt overwhelmed in a lot of cases with that.
I get very like overstimulated very easily. So, and to this day, I mean, that's probably one of the worst traits of mine is if I get super stressed out, I just like shut down and I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anyone to talk to me. I want to figure this out. I want to put my head down. I want to focus on it so I can get this done and I can be past this as fast as possible. So that, I mean, I'm kind of the same as you in that sense that like, yes, it would be probably easier if I could say, hey, partner.
Delegate some stuff?
Yeah. But I'm not really a delegator. I'm kind of.
Yeah, I never was either because it was always like, figure it out. This is on you. Go, whatever, as a kid.
But I will say one of the things that I've gotten much better at as an adult is not micromanaging. So if I do delegate a task, I'm just like, okay, here's your task. Here's your task, and I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to check on you. Because micromanaging annoys the hell out of me when someone's on me like every single day. Like,
Yeah.
did you get this done? Did you get this done? Did you get this done? No, I've not had fucking time to get it done yet. Leave me alone. I will get it done as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do not do well. I'm a very probably fiercely independent person, unfortunately, for people that I'm in a relationship with.
Yeah, and I try not to micromanage people. I feel like I do that a lot. I did that a lot in my last relationship. I micromanaged the
Women.
fuck
I feel
out
like
of him.
women do that way more than men
But
do.
yeah, exactly. But we like to plan things out, and
Men
I
are
was
terrible
also.
planners.
I didn't lead that relationship. So that's also another red flag is the man needs to generally lead that relationship in a lot of cases. Like, and I don't mean lead by, you don't need to obey him. He doesn't need to boss you around. But I feel like it's best for the man to feel in that like alpha role. When you have a household, right? You have same with dogs, same with packs of wolves. Like you have an alpha. So, and I noticed this too, like with my relationship with my dog. My dog knew he was alpha. So it's kind of like if I knew and then he left, I was left with the dog. Dog's like, you ain't alpha. And I was like, shit, we're back to square one. But yeah, no, I'm going to be a lot more attracted to my man if he is the alpha in our relationship. And I don't mean that as he's bossy. He's telling me what to do. He's telling me what I can and can't do. That's not it. But
The whole concept of the alpha, though, is they put the members of the pack above themselves. Right?
yeah.
So if you look at, like, wolf packs, the alpha, like, will typically defer to the puppies, which is so funny. But also, like, the whole concept of, like, the alpha eats first, that's not always necessarily true unless you're in times of, like, starvation.
Because
And then
you need that
obviously
leader.
the alpha has to eat first because he's the one that's going to be fighting if anything bad happens. No, but the whole concept, and I hear this, I grew up in the South, very religious. So there's the whole mindset of, like, the husband is supposed to lead the household because the husband's what's the whole thing? Like, the husband's word is next to God or something. Like, the
Something like
husband's
that,
word
yeah.
is law.
yeah.
But the whole idea of that is he should be putting his wife's wants and needs and desires above his own.
Sure.
So the whole...
And that's where he makes those decisions based off of his kids, his wife.
So I feel like the whole concept of toxic masculinity is when men take the power that is bestowed upon them, that trust, and then they use it for selfish gains or selfish...
their advantage. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, but yeah, so I was like looking for that leadership role and that like confidence in him. And he was like, no, we're going to do it this way. I think this way works best, whatever, talk to me. And it's really kind of like a gray area. Relationship to relationship, it's very different. But yeah, that's what I was looking for in that relationship, and that did not work out.
I can
Because me as the alpha is just, I will not be attracted to a beta man. That's not how it works.
So I can throw a little more credit to Papa Bear. So one of the relationships I was in years ago, he was like working on something outside of the house, like fixing something. And he was doing it wrong. Very wrong. And I'm like, you're doing that wrong. Like, I asked him to fix it. And then I'm like, but you're doing it wrong. And he's like, go away, leave me alone. Like, let me fix it. I'm like, I'm trying to, but you're doing it wrong and you're going to make a bigger mess. So I called my dad, which in hindsight is a no-no. But I called my dad because I was like, he's doing this wrong. He's about to break something. We're going to need you to come over and like fix it.
Yeah.
But I'm on the phone with my dad while he's within earshot. So he got really upset. And my dad, of course, he broke whatever it was that he was working on because he lost his temper. It wasn't coming apart the way it was supposed to because he wasn't listening to me. But he was getting frustrated. Then he broke it. So then my dad had to come over. It took them twice as long to fix it. Way more work, way more effort. But they got it fixed.
Yeah.
So later my dad was like, hey, if you give him a job, give it to him and walk away. If you're asking someone to do something, if they don't come to you asking for help, don't give it, especially a man. If you say, hey, honey, can you fix that door, go away.
Yeah.
Go away and let him fix that door.
Yeah.
He may break it. He may make a bigger mistake.
But he's not going to blame you for that break.
But
like, he's gonna,
at the end of the day, be the one that has to fix it. So and he was like, I will always come. I will always help you. I'll always bail you out of issues, but I also am the person that's going to call you on your shit. Do not call your daddy in front of your boyfriend while he's trying to fix something for you and tell your dad he's not fixing it right. He needs to come over.
Yeah.
He was
it's
like,
a whole like,
he was like, next time either call me first or ask him to do it and then leave him alone. So that's like my biggest thing that I've taken away from that. Now, if I ask a guy to do something, I'm like, hey, can you do that for me?
it all comes back to that. Like, if you're not getting your attention from your man, I saw this one video, or this one girl was talking
naked.
about this. No, it was like, she was asking her man for so long, can you fix this? Can you fix this? Can you fix this? And he was like, yeah, I'll
Had
get
the
to
neighbor
it.
do it?
Yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah. And it's that thing where she was like, oh, John, the neighbor said he's going to come over and fix it. And he got right the fuck up. And he's like, no, I'm fixing that shit. Like,
Yeah, my version of that is my dad.
no man wants another man to take care of his woman in any fashion.
And
So-
if he does, he doesn't care about you that much.
Oh,
He's
so,
not
oh my
a good
God,
man.
we're done.
I mean, there
Yeah.
are some things like if you need a professional, obviously, if you're, outside
But we have all these
of
things like there's
your-
Google and stuff. Yeah, but like the professional, like a plumber. If you need a plumber to come
if you
over and
need an
fix some
electrician,
stuff,
I'd
like,
rather you not get my dad
want you to
electrocuted
die.
himself when I was a kid. Not bad, but like I think I asked for like a ceiling fan. I was a dumb kid.
Yeah.
I wanted a ceiling fan for my 16th birthday, so daddy got me
hell?
a ceiling fan. I know I'm ridiculous. I just wanted a fan in my room. So he was installing the
Fair
ceiling
enough.
fan for me, and my dad's like a contractor. I mean, he's built houses, like done this stuff his entire life. And I was like, did you turn the breaker off? And he was like, no. I was like, shouldn't
16
you?
years old. Did you turn the breaker
I
on?
was like, shouldn't you turn the... Oh, I learned. I mean, my
Yeah.
dad and my grandpa constantly. I was like, shouldn't you turn the breaker off? Dad was like, I'll be fine. And almost as soon as he said that, he touched the live and he like zapped himself and he fell off the ladder. And he was like,
I'm
I
gonna
was
turn the
like-
breaker off.
I'm gonna go turn the breaker off, okay? He was like, okay. He was
Oh,
laughing
no.
because he was like, I wouldn't have done it if you wouldn't have just told me. Like, if you wouldn't have been
Yeah.
asking about it. But
But it's
no.
crazy how like having a good woman by your side too, in like a good relationship to kind of throw different points of view at you.
Oh no! Now,
Like,
now, if
in
there's like a
general?
health or safety thing, I'll be like, hey, like I will try to like
But
not
more
trying.
nurturing
I'm
stuff.
like not trying to butt in or interject, and if you want me to go away, I'll go away. But do you think maybe? And then I'll try to like in a really nice way, and then I'll just leave it alone. Like, hey, have you thought about that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go away now, or like
Yeah.
here's some lemonade.
Yeah.
Do you want a cookie?
Here's a beer while you're over there. You're just like
Thanks, honey.
inspecting it. Here's
Well,
a beer though.
So, and I have so many female friends of mine, people that are married, and this is so funny to me because they'll bitch constantly about their husbands not doing anything. Like, I've had this honey-do list a mile long for 3 years, and he's just like, stop nagging me. You don't need to ask me every single year if I'm going to get around to it. So, I mean, that's kind of the
so
ridiculousness.
bad. Yeah.
But women,
Find another
men
man that
have
will.
praise kinks.
Yeah.
You need to make sure as you're going along when he does those things, if he changes the oil in your car, if he changes a light bulb, Jesus, if he opens a jar, oh my gosh, honey, you're
Yeah.
so, squeeze a little bicep, you're so big and strong. What would I do without you?
He's like, shut up, but also he's like blushing
No,
inside.
it's like making
yeah.
him happy. I think that's so important. It's
Yeah.
so important. That's like my biggest piece of advice I give to my female friends. I'm like, if you want to make your guy happy, just like
Yeah, just praise him every once
men
in a
don't
while.
get compliments like women do, and I
Yeah,
don't
especially
think
when you get
women-
comfortable in a long relationship, like, and it's not that shit doesn't impress you anymore, but it's just like you kind of lose sight of like what your partner needs and
Well,
like the
and
attention. You know, like everyone needs to flirt. You
I
need to
don't
flirt for
think-
like the rest of your life.
I don't think women, because we get complimented so much, I don't think we understand or can appreciate the fact that men never get compliments. Like really,
Yeah.
they very rarely
Yeah.
get compliments.
Because
Like,
other men aren't going to compliment them.
yeah,
no,
do you
it's
want
always
to know?
a competition.
Do you want to know the easiest way for some woman to come up and steal your dude? She's gonna be complimenting
Can you
him.
reach that stuff on the top shelf at the grocery store? I can't.
Yeah, she's
Like, you
gonna
know,
make
just-
him.
yeah.
She's gonna make him feel like a hero.
Feel useful.
And
Yeah.
that's something he wants. So, I mean, if you look at why men cheat, it's usually because they're missing something in a relationship. So, make sure
Facts.
you're filling his praise kink needs.
Facts. All right. We talked about the attachments.
I wanted to talk about the Idaho murderer.
So for everyone at home, Lindsay knows all about this. I don't look into that. Like
I'm a
murder
little-
stuff freaks me out.
Crime murder podcast junkie. I love all podcasts, but I've got a
Yeah.
couple that like are the crime stuff that I just love. But I listened to a little like crime podcast today, and then I read a little article. So they finally arrested someone for the Idaho murder, which, if you're not familiar, it's like 3 girls and 1 guy, and like they're like college age kids. Basically, they were murdered. I think this happened a few months ago. So they just like narrowed down to a suspect. He's not been convicted or anything, but he has been arrested under suspicion of this. And he is a criminal justice major working on a PhD.
It's always the people in like those professions, I feel like.
It's crazy to
like
me.
Doctors, you know, twisted doctors and some of it's always those people in those stories, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, it's always people that like why, like it's gonna make me second guess people that are like criminal justice majors or they're really into that kind of stuff. I'm like, what's going on in your head?
some crooked cops.
What are you doing? Why are you so interested in murderers? What do you got going on up there, buddy?
Oh God, that's kind of the
Everything
same
okay?
thing as like some psychologists. Like if you talk to some, like psychologists, they'll be like they'll psychoanalyze themselves to death because they've been studying this too so much.
Yeah.
There's some of them like that, and they'll make themselves like they'll get into depression in themselves because they're psychoanalyzing everything they do because that's what they do for everybody else.
Yeah. They have found a woman who went on a Tinder date with the dude that's been arrested.
The criminal justice.
And apparently she said he was a freaking creep. So for all you little weirdos out there that are going on these dates and you're just like being your most authentically weird self and you're like, nothing's ever going to come of this person. Like,
Yeah.
people are going to remember you. Girls, we don't forget shit.
No, we'll remember that
Well,
bad date and we'll live to talk about it when we have a podcast in the future.
Unfortunately, we don't remember things that are sometimes important, but we do remember things that are weird.
Especially at this age, the stuff I've gone through, like I'm super, super, super crazy observant when I go on dates. Like your demeanor, the way you talk to me.
Well, you
like,
kind of have to be. It's
how
a
you
safety
treat.
thing now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It's like how they talk to wait staff, how they treat me. Like, I don't know. But
anyway, I was listening to this other podcast, and there was a girl that was talking about like the weirdest TikTok date she's ever, or like not TikTok, the weirdest Tinder date she's ever been on. And she was saying that the dude like showed up with a duffel bag to the date, and she was like,
just a
what's up with
shovel,
that?
some rope.
What's up with that?
Some
And
duct tape.
he was like, this is where I keep, all of my past Tinder dates, as like a joke. And then throughout the rest of the date, he was making jokes about murdering this girl. He's like, yeah, I'm going to murder you later. Yeah, this is really great. It's super fun, but I'm still going to murder you later. So he's like full sending it with the whole like creepy murderer thing. And then later has the audacity to ask this girl if she wants to come home with him. Like, I could almost see these creepy dudes,
What?
like, actually doing something terrible and then being like, I was literally telling her all night I was gonna murder her.
Ladies, this is why you drive yourself separately to a first date. Don't let a
Yeah.
man pick you up,
Oh,
please.
absolutely.
At
So
least
for
for the very first date, at
The
least
very first,
Oh, God,
usually
no.
for me, it's the first couple of dates
Yeah.
now.
I want to be able to escape if I have to. 'Cause you don't know this person.
Well, I've had some really rough dates. And so to clarify, this is also why online dating, no thank you. But it's also historically why I don't do the whole online dating. But if I was, like, if I'm going to go on a first date, that's why I'm going to want to do coffee. That's why I'm going to want to do something like super low key, super easy to escape from. You have like a set deadline. You're like, okay, we're going to have coffee for an hour. And then if things are going really great and you're having a super fun time, you can always extend it and grab lunch or
Yeah.
grab an early dinner. Like, there are always ways to extend it if you're having a great time. But if things are weird or you're just getting like awkward vibes, you can be like, okay, well, this was really great. Thank you. But
And it's during
gotta
the
go
day.
I've got to go do the rest of my day.
Yep.
Yeah. So
God. Dude, I hate all that murder mystery stuff. It creeps me out. I'm
Oh,
too
I love
empathetic. Like, I'm super empathetic. So when I think about like anything happening to someone around my age, like shit like that, like it freaks
Stella
me
and I
out.
binge watched the
Freaks me out.
whole Jeffrey Dahmer, the Dahmer show.
I
on
watched like
Netflix.
3 episodes and I was like,
So creepy.
I don't know if I can do this.
So creepy.
It was
but
like, I was just,
loved it.
because what I do is I try to like analyze why, like in everybody. So like if I was like sitting there like, why would he do that? And I couldn't understand it all. And I was like, this makes me extremely uncomfortable because I can't understand why this man's doing all this shit. Not that Not that you should understand.
I don't necessarily
But,
feel
like,
the
it's
need
like,
to understand where their mindset is, because that's a dangerous game to play. Like,
Yeah.
let me try to get in their mindset. Like,
yeah, see, I'm too
let me
empathetic.
try to
I try to
empathize.
read people way too much, so naturally I'm just like,
I'm
why?
not trying to
Why,
empathize with
why?
you. I'm just accepting that you're a crazy cuckoo loony head.
Me?
And I'm not. No,
Oh.
like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
There's
That's fair.
obviously something fundamentally wrong with his brain.
Oh, absolutely. That no one can understand. That's
Well, and
absolutely
like
horrible.
John Wayne Gacy, they've got this like show out where they interview the family members of these people, and that's what's what's so crazy to me is these people. Some of these people have like completely normal childhoods, like no weird signs or indications that something might be wrong, which I guess is what makes like a successful serial killer, right? Is someone that like most people aren't going to suspect.
I guess.
So with like Ted Bundy, right?
Oh yeah, well, he was so charming and
All
so
of these women were
charismatic.
like, even up until the day they like executed him, they're like, no, he would never, ever, ever do something like this. There's like irrefutable proof that this man has like violently murdered
Yeah.
multiple women, and all these women are just like, no, he would never do that. I'm like, goodness
Weird
gracious.
as shit.
I went to Florida State, and there's a trail I used to run on. It was really close to my apartment, but we all nicknamed it Murder Trail.
Oh, because wasn't that where he was caught?
So-
by a sorority. Right, in
No,
Florida?
so no, he murdered a few women in one of the sorority houses, which those are like they don't still have sororities in those houses. For anyone wondering,
Oh, absolutely. You shouldn't.
I'm pretty sure the one that like the girls got murdered in was probably like torn down or something. But no, it was just this trail that goes around campus, but it's not very well lit. It's super creepy. So everyone just called it Murder Trail. So you'd be
Not funny.
and I would go running down that all the time. So everyone would be like, oh, where do you run? I'm like, just down Murder Trail. And they're like, what is wrong with you? But for those of you wondering, they are like little safety spots, right? So
Sure, like buttons and stuff
yeah,
along.
so if
Yeah, our
anything
campus had that too.
sketchy or too strange or shady
If
happens.
anything, it's more motivation to run faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
gonna get dark
Sometimes I
about it.
listen to like clown music or like zombies.
Bitch, what the hell?
Clowns are terrifying to me.
That clown. Remember that clown era in college when people
oh,
dressed up as clowns?
Oh my God.
Do you
we
remember
want to talk
that?
about what happened last week when we were leaving.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was the scariest phone call I've had in years, dude. So
So-
Lindsay was leaving our studio where we record, and she was like, it was very foggy outside, very eerie. It was
Super
dark.
foggy.
And she calls me, and I'm still sitting in my car outside the studio. and-
I should preface this first by saying I have not good night vision.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
everyone note that. So I was sitting in my car. She had already left. I was sitting in my car outside the studio, just kind of like on my phone, checking my phone after we recorded. And she calls me, and I'm like, hello? And she's like, have you left yet?
Hold on. So I want to tell from my POV.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm in the car and I'm like driving, and Stella like growled in the back,
She
which
did not.
she never, ever, ever growls.
You didn't tell me that.
She's like the sweetest little puppy ever. So I'm like driving and we're going and it's super foggy. So I'm like trying to focus on the road. And then she's like, brr. And I'm like, did you burp? And then
Did you burp?
out of the corner of my eye on like the left side, which there are like woods on either side of the road, I see this white thing that's about head level. And I'm like, oh my God, why did that just look like a person in a mask? So I called Emma because I'm like, I need her to clear this up for me because I'm sure like I'm just blowing things way out of proportion. So I called Emma and I was like, did you leave yet?
Assuming I'd left already.
Yeah, and she hadn't.
And I was sitting in my car in the fog, and I was like, huh? You see what around the corner that I'm about to take? And I was like, okay, well, you're staying on the phone with me.
Like, before I get too far away, go ahead and drive around that corner and
Let me know if you see a human in a mask.
No, there were like two white things, like face level. So one of them was like a sign or like
saw the
a
sign.
bag over a sign, but there was something else there too.
God, dude, I'm getting chills again. This
that's
shit was
where I
creepy.
like, oh man. And then I was like, I'm going to call Emma really quickly because it's probably nothing. And like, I just, caught something weird out of the corner of my eye. But the fact that you only saw the sign thing with the bag, I was like, that's really weird.
Yeah, so, and I was like, okay, well, now I am having palpitations.
Now
So-
I'm terrified.
And so I was like, you're going to stay on the phone with me as I go around this creepy ass corner. If anything jumps out, I don't know, run. I don't know, keep going. I don't know what to tell you. I was like, I'm hitting it.
Come back. We're bringing the cow.
Whatever it is, I'm hitting it. So I like started driving around the corner and I was like, I was like trying to go fast, but also like keep control of the car because it was a kind of a windy turn. And I'm going around, I'm like, and I just like start taking off. And because there's no one on that street, rarely. So I was like looking to the side, like looking through the shit. I was looking for it.
No, but the fact that like Stella Bird in the back, like, and
that is a big sign because like dogs.
super creepy.
Super creepy, dude. And I still get chills about it.
Which, to be fair, she's growled like that at like armadillos and stuff. So there have been other situations.
Armadillos aren't that tall.
No, but like I doubt
animals.
driving in a car, I didn't have the windows down. It's not like she could have seen an armadillo or something. So
I wonder, oh my God.
super weird.
So creepy. And we were talking about how we would just like fuck it up. Like if it jumped out close, I'm hitting your ass and I'm leaving.
Although if it's a
like, I don't know.
ghost. That's a
Stop! It's one of those night walkers. What are those things?
Oh, no,
From
don't.
conspiracy theory stuff?
Yeah.
Or what is that like?
If you ever talk to people that like grow up near like Indian reservations.
Yeah, Arizona's a big one.
Yeah.
Like, they're a lot out like west. It's out west.
No, which I know there are some animals that can make calls that sound like humans screaming, but
Stop. Foxes. Foxes do that. That's their mating call at night. When I stayed in Colorado, we went camping in a fucking tent. Dude, I can't emphasize this enough how much I hate camping in a tent. You're so vulnerable. You'll die no matter whatever's out there will kill you easily.
This is one of the things that I can now like appreciate Justin. Like we've tried to get Justin to go like tent camping so many times and he's like, nah, homies, I will get a cabin in the woods with a hot tub, a nice cabin, not some creepy, rickety little shack.
Yep.
But
yeah, I need something with a hard casing around me at least. Like, I'll pull a trailer behind the truck. I don't fucking care. I'm sleeping in the dark. Like,
no, I have camped a lot because when I was in college, we would go scuba diving. So we would go to these like little campsites, which if you're in a group of like 20 plus people and you're all in tents, it's a little different. But I had the shit scared of me by like some raccoons one time because the raccoons were like raiding our campsite. No, and like when I can hear the little animals scurrying by, I'm like, Can
I talk about my Colorado trip really quick?
Yeah.
So me and an ex, went on a Colorado trip, and it was one of those things where he was like, "It's not real camping unless you sleep in a tent." And so our plan was to drive out there, and we would just camp from like the north and make our way down to Colorado Springs. And we stopped at like 4 different campsites. And we started at the top. We stayed in around Estes Park, or I think that's the top where we started. Something around there. I don't know. Maybe that was the second one. But anyway, we stopped at this first reservoir. It was really cool. Known for mountain lions to be in the area because it was very like dry.
Oh, and they make
hilly,
weird, crazy screaming sounds.
Hilly, whatever. And yeah, we did stay in Estes Park first. That was fine. We stayed at like one of those, what was like it's like a kids campground basically. So we were surrounded by families. Everything was fine. Very close to each other. So I felt fine about that. No animals were going to come around that area. But then we went to this and it was pretty spread out. It wasn't woodsy, but it was very like kind of, the hilly, kind of sandy, kind of dry lands where mountain lions would probably hang out. I was like, okay, well, this is not great.
Mountain lions are the ones that cry like a baby. It sounds like a baby crying.
Stop. Oh my God. If anything sounds like a human at night in the woods, I'm panicking. I'm not sleeping. Like I got my gun.
I'm not sleep in the car.
No, I literally like every single night, no matter what campsite we were at, I slept with my gun, my switchblade, and my bear spray right next to me. Like right next to me off of the
I laugh, but that's
mattress.
Not necessarily the worst idea.
I know. I was terrified. And he slept like a fucking baby. He slept the entire night, and I was sleeping like 3 to 4 hours a night. Like, it was horrible. But yeah, we stopped at the second one.
In the car, dude.
Yeah. If I was scared enough, like, if I didn't have all this stuff with me, I probably would have. But, we stayed at this campsite, and the winds were horrible. Like, they were coming over the hill. The winds were really bad that night, so we were in a valley. Yeah. So they were coming over the hill. Our tent was indenting in, like hitting me in the face, like indenting in, like our like things you connect to make the tent stable. The poles were bending and like bending in, and he's fucking sleeping, and I'm like, okay, well, our tent's gonna blow away. It's gonna break and blow away, and then
from the car.
I was like right there. Like it's at our campsite.
I would have gotten in the car, slept in the car.
No, I was scared to get out of the car or out of the tent. I was literally scared to leave the tent at all. I didn't know what was out there. Everyone's sleeping. The people around us are sleeping. No one's going to help me. And so, yeah, that was indenting in. I was pissed about that. Pissed at him for whatever reason because he made me sleep in the tent the whole trip. So I was already pissed at him. And then there was like the third day and I was like, can we just like do a hotel in Denver for one night. Would you hate that? He was like, it's not a trip. It's not a camping trip if you don't camp in a tent every single day. And I was
camped
like,
in a tent enough.
I was like, I'm stinky. I'm hurting. This is horrible. I'm not sleeping. I'm tired. Like, I'm getting pissed at you. That's also, it should be number one priority to fix, by the way. You don't want that on your trip.
No.
Like, and then, so I was scared about animals every single place we stopped at. And then to the last place, it was fine. We were surrounded. I felt pretty safe at this one. I don't know why. I just did. We were surrounded by everybody. It was a full campsite because it was during COVID. So it was when nobody had to work. Everyone went out west and went camping. So we couldn't find a campsite. And then we found this one. It's the last ones that freaked me out. This one in Colorado Springs, everything was full except this one campsite. And I was like, all right, what's wrong with it? You know what I mean? Like, so we pull up. I'm already like, okay, it was pretty cheap. I'm like, all right, this ain't going to be fun. So we put up our tent. And then I wasn't even worried about animals anymore. I was worried about the people that were surrounding us. Like, sketchy as fuck. And, like, the person in front of us, because they had their car or whatever, like a very small camper. And they kept leaving. Like, it was like 2 a.m. And their lights kept turning on, flashing through our tent, would pull out, leave, come back, pull out, leave. I'm like, what are you doing?
Drugs.
And then I was like, now I'm more scared of these humans than I am of any animal. Any animal around us right now. We were in the woods. And so I was like, these humans could like, and we were in a pretty vulnerable state. You know, like you just put yourself in a very vulnerable state doing that. And in 2023, not appropriate. It's not fun. But
oh my God.
How do we get on that topic?
So you're never going to go on a camping trip again?
Not in a tent. No, you will not pay me unless it's like maybe on a beach. If it's on a beach where, like, you know, no sharks are going to roll up and fucking eat me. Like,
oh my gosh. So when we grew up in the beach town. When I was in high school, that was something like, and even middle school a few times. One of my good friends, they had a condo on the beach. She and I would like go and like, this is crazy to think of now, but we would fall asleep on the chairs. Like the little chairs that they rent down by the beach. We would just go and like sleep on the chairs. And then wake up like 6 or 7 o'clock in the next morning. We got moonburnt a couple of times. So fun fact, you can actually get a sunburn from the moon.
That's so cool.
So yeah, we woke up and we're like, how are we sunburned?
Oh yeah, we were talking about camping because of the noises that animals make.
Yeah.
So and one of them,
mountain lions.
I heard foxes the entire time. They just scream like people. That was their like mating call. Like they scream and it sounds like a human screaming. And so
like a high pitched, like a woman screaming or a man screaming.
A woman screaming. It was high pitched, and I'm not gonna do it in here.
Don't.
But yeah. So I would hear this screaming, and I was like, huh, and then I would have to like calm myself down, like lower my heart rate. And I was like, it's a fox, it's a fox. And then there would be like raccoons or whatever that pull up that just kind of like rub against the tent and stuff. And I'm like, I can't sleep anywhere, dude. Like this is gonna be a horrible trip. And it kind of like.
I used to do so great with tent camping when I was in college, but now. I don't know. I'm going to use the excuse that I'm too old. Like, I'm too old to be sleeping on a sleeping bag on the ground.
Yeah. Like, that's for children.
Maybe when I have kids.
I'm an adult. I'll be sleeping.
Like, maybe when I have kids, I might take my kids, like,
I wouldn't even feel safe having, like, then I got to protect my kids, too. Like,
well, you go to, like, well-reputable places. You don't take your kids into the boonies. You don't go to deliverance territory, right?
I believe anything can happen anywhere. I don't care what kind of campground it is.
I also think it's important because those were, like, super fun bonding experiences. Like when I was growing up, like we didn't have the age of technology like we have now.
Sure. Same.
I think it's so important to let kids like get outdoors and just enjoy the outdoors without electronic devices. So yeah, I'm absolutely going to take my kids tent camping.
But we're going to have an RV or something.
That's fair.
Yeah. We'll still do the outdoorsy stuff. We'll go hiking. I love to hike. I'll still bring my gun with me because no animals are out there.
Gun, bear spray.
But
a small caliper gun is only going to piss off a big animal, right? So,
but it makes me feel better just having it on me.
Like a 22 or a 9.
When me and my dad, we went on a not a camping trip, but we stayed in a cabin, but we went on a hiking trip in Tennessee this last summer, and I had my gun in my backpack, and we'd be walking up. We took like a 5-mile hike just straight up. And people were walking down, and they were like, "Hey, we saw a bear up there, like 25 feet, 30 yards."
Those are black bears.
And I was like, "But still, I'm terrified of bears. It's my biggest fear. Bears and falling, like heights, falling, and bears are my 2 biggest fears." And
beats.
I was like,
Battlestar Galactica.
And I was like, okay, immediate palpitations, my heart's gonna explode. And I was like, Dad, do you have your gun? And he was
Meanwhile,
like,
I'm the exact opposite. And there's like a story of a woman who brought what she thought were these two like rescue dogs or like puppies she found in the woods. They looked really weird. So she brought them to the vet and they turned out to be baby bears. They were like, either they got separated from their mother or something happened to the
Crazy
mom
lady.
and they were orphaned. So she had two bears, and I'm like, I just want a bear. I just want baby bears. They just
you
look
kidding
so
me?
cuddly and sweet.
you'll change your mind.
Nah.
Those things are scary.
I'm an
They're
insane
unpredictable.
person when it comes to animals. I see like
love all
polar
animals.
bears.
Oh,
Polar bears have no chill factor, and I'm like, I want to pet it.
polar bear is like the most aggressive bear.
I just want to pet it behind the ears because I feel like any animal, if you can like scritch it behind the ears, they're gonna be like,
Are you one of those people that goes up to those like dangerous animals like, I'm gonna be the one that they like
I'ma pet it.
they're gonna
Yeah.
gravitate towards me. They're gonna love me.
Most animals, except for small dogs, most animals love me. Like, and so
Small
you
dogs
also,
aren't even animals.
You also have to consider, like, I've grown up with horses,
Yeah, you like big animals.
so I understand the biggest factor with them is an intimidation thing. If you walk up and you're scared and you're intimidated and you seem like prey, you're like, oh, I'm scared, I'm nervous. But if you just walk right up to it and like, hey, I'm gonna scratch you on the head, I mean, that's probably gonna be how I go.
So yeah, that is gonna be how you go, dude. I was gonna say there's
What
a difference.
happened to Lindsay? So she found a polar bear and
She thought it'd be a good idea.
She scratched it behind the ear and all was good. But apparently polar bears have the same rules as cats with petting their stomach. You get exactly 2, no more, no less.
What's that Australian guy that passed away from?
Steve Irwin.
You pulled a Steve Irwin. You're like, I'm
He's
gonna be
my
Steve Irwin today.
hero.
I know, but
He's
but no one's
really-
like him.
No, he's
You gotta
really,
be a living, walking
He's really my
God.
hero. Like I see snakes and stuff, and I'm like, look at it, because we had a.
Oh yeah, I'm
this
not
is
scared of snakes.
Funny little detour, but we had a snake on the farm that my dad and I found, and he was like, "Oh, a dead snake is a good snake," and I'm like, "No," and I was like, "No, he's a little pine snake. You can't kill him." And I was like telling him about this because I'm a freako with animals, so I'm like telling him about the snake, and then I was like, "His name is gonna be Mr. Slithers."
Oh my god.
Like Mr. Smithers from
Yeah.
The
The Simpsons?
So I'm like, his name is going to be Mr. Slithers. And then I just need to find a Mr. Burns, something
Yeah.
for him to like. But Mr. Slithers.
Your dad's like, I'll show you Mr. Burns.
no,
Light.
no. If it gets named, it's a pet. You don't kill pets. Yeah,
your dad
that's
know
how
that?
that's how I ended up with a turkey when I was 7. Yeah, Gobbleriella.
No.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah. I've also named most of our chickens.
I used to
Cluck
steal. I
Norris,
don't know if this
Russell
is crazy.
Crowe.
I don't know if this is crazy.
I really want to get one of the fluffy chickens. They've got like afros.
Those are bitches.
I
Those
want
things
to
are
name
mean.
him Albert Einstein.
Those things
I
are
just,
mean.
I'm so good at naming animals, so I need an Albert Einstein. Also, the fact that eggs are getting so expensive right now. Everyone makes fun of you for having chickens until eggs are $2 a piece, and then everyone wants to be your best friend when you've got chickens.
When I was a kid,
Just
there would be
saying.
this one spot. So we had a tree that was about 7 feet tall. So it wasn't that tall. And it was enough for me to reach. And because I would climb it a little bit. But there was this bird's nest in it. And every year it would just recycle.
Probably the same
would
bird.
come. Yeah, probably the same bird coming to this nest every single year, nesting it up with the eggs and stuff. And I'll be like, is there eggs in it this time? And I would look and I would take an egg. And then I would like.
You murderer!
No, because I wouldn't crack it or anything or break it.
Yeah,
But
that's
or
a
no,
baby.
okay, so would it be that it fell out of the tree and was on the ground? But it would break then, wouldn't it?
Don't lie now. You stole eggs
I
out
don't
of
know.
the nest.
I took an egg one time, and I thought it was so interesting. I was like, "Hey, I'm like right here. I can see it." The bird's like, like just like get away, kind of shit. And it was right by our front door. Like it was in our landscaping. It was right by our front door. So every time I knew there was eggs in there. Every time I would go home, there would be a bird like perched right on our front door, and it would swoop down and like fuck anybody up that came to our front door.
Don't touch my babies.
Yeah, and I was really pissed because my dog, because I got one of the eggs and I was just like in the grass, like I don't know, I was so young and I was like playing with it in the grass and stuff, and then like my dog would come around and like take it and run off with it. I'm like, no, like I would freak out, and so my dog actually killed him, not me.
Oh. So I did that whole. Did you see the challenge going around a while back where everyone was giving their dog an egg?
Yeah, to see if they were gentle with it.
I did that with Stella.
She fucked it up, didn't she?
No.
Oh.
She was so gentle with it. She was like nosing it around. She's like the sweetest little sweet baby ever. I couldn't put it in her mouth because she won't take anything other than like treats from me with her mouth, so I had to like set it down. But she was just like nosing it around, and then she like laid down next to it, like, okay.
Oh, my dog fucked that up. And he took it and ran off. I was like, oh, my
Maybe
heart.
he knew you couldn't be trusted. Maybe he took them somewhere to try to hatch them.
Are you kidding me? He just took it out of its
He was
misery.
like-
I think he was
like,
ruthless.
You stole this thing from its mother. You don't deserve it.
I didn't take all the eggs. I just took one every year.
You're crazy. So, last topic of the day, we've got about 10 minutes left. We wanted to talk about our sexy self-care topic, which is not so sexy self-care, but it is a self-care.
Yeah, concept. So,
Normalizing leaving people on red.
So I think
Now,
this is very
hold on.
important.
Hold on. Because I want to differentiate.
Okay.
There is a difference. If you are going out of your way to leave someone on red, so
to be spiteful.
as a manipulation tactic,
Yeah.
as an attempt to be spiteful, as an attempt to get a response from them or a reaction, because we've all been guilty of it, right?
Oh,
Like
sure.
you're in the middle of an argument,
sure I
you're in the
did it
middle of
last
a
week.
fight. You don't like something the other person says, so you read the message and you're like, I'm leaving them on red.
Pretty sure I did that last week. I got to work on that.
Yeah. I don't do that. So I know I advocate for this all the time, the 10-minute rule. If something someone does or says really upsets me, there is a difference in leaving people on red as a way to punish them and leaving people
Yeah.
on red as a way to process your feelings, your emotion, and how you feel.
Agreed.
And I will say, as a courtesy, typically if it's going to be more than like a couple of hours, I will send the person a message like, hey, I'm upset. I just need some time to myself to process, to think,
Yep.
whatever it is. I'll be in touch when I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah. My thing is, I don't even have my read receipts on to begin with because I like to kind
I
of have
think
that.
it turns them on automatically for me when I text people. I have to
You
like
can turn it
manually
off.
go. I have to manually go in and turn it off. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, no, I don't have my read receipts on for anybody ever. I
So
don't care
as
who
soon
you are.
as you
you're not my
message
partner.
someone, you go in, you turn those off.
Mine just like I put it in my settings. So there's a thing where you can go individual conversations. You can turn them on. But in my settings, I have it automatically for
Oh,
new
I think
people,
mine
automatic
is set
off.
automatically on. And
Yeah, yours are on for me. But I don't bother doing that
don't-
because I'll read a message.
I don't leave you on red in a passive aggressive way at all.
Yeah, so and I don't want anybody to have an opportunity to. I just don't want anything to come up or like that to be used as any ammo whatsoever. So not that I would do that to other people, but like immature people will do
But
that.
I think it's an important concept to say it's okay to leave people on red.
Yeah,
Like,
it is. If you need
do
to process your
not-
own emotions.
You don't owe anyone a response unless you're in like a serious relationship. You're married. It's your mother. It's your father. It's your brother. Like unless
Yeah.
you have a serious relationship, tie, whatever, with this person, you don't owe anyone a response.
Exactly. My do not disturb has been on for, when I tell you a month. And the only thing, you can have exceptions to this. So like I made it to where my bosses can text me, my mom can text me, my dad can text me.
you have exceptions.
I have exceptions to that, and you can actually make that a setting in your phone. But I don't get
Yeah.
notifications
Those are
from,
the only ones you get notifications from.
yes.
Yeah.
For it's work related, it's family related. That's it. So,
So I have like a work mode on my phone. I have like a
Yeah.
sleepy time mode, and then I do have like set people that
I have it so anybody can call me. Like I'll get any phone call from anybody. So I have that. My phone, that phone app is on for that. But texting, it's only my immediate family, and then any work stuff. But I don't get Snapchat notifications. I'll get Instagram notifications, TikTok, Facebook, anything. Like it's all off. Because I feel like I just wanted to work on being more present too, and not being on my, because we work from our phones
yeah.
a lot. So I
mean, I
can't be
can
staring at the
definitely
bitch
relate
phone.
to that because with what I do for my job,
Exactly.
I'm on social media often. So I have like Facebook, I don't get notifications. Instagram, I don't get notifications. The only notifications I get are like text message and I think Snapchat. But Snapchat is mainly for close friends or family.
Yeah.
Same thing with text messages and then phone calls. And I think after like 8 o'clock, if someone really has to reach me, they have to call me 2 times in a row for my phone to actually
really?
ring. Yeah, so that's like my bedtime
smart.
mode. So if they call me twice, anyone, if they call me twice in a row, my phone will ring through.
Yeah.
And then if it's like someone that's an emergency. But I know I had a conversation with someone about this recently because it was in regards to like breaking up with someone. So I feel like this may be kind of a controversial thing, but I feel like when you end a relationship with someone, you don't owe them an explanation. So that whole podcast we did where it was like answering questions on how to get my boyfriend to break up with me, how to get my girlfriend to break up with me. If you're unhappy in your relationship, you can end that relationship.
Yeah.
You can
Just
end
communicate
it
that.
in any way, shape, or form that you want. And yes, it would be nice if you had enough respect for the person to like
It's a respect thing.
to give
and
them a
it's-
call,
Yes.
to end it in person. But
And even like I will, if a person needs it to move on or maybe work on themselves in a certain aspect on why we broke up, I will give them a reason that
yeah,
I'm breaking up with
closure.
them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, because honestly, it's probably like in my case, in my last relationship, it was something that he had done
yeah.
or wasn't doing.
Or wasn't doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I do want him to know that you need to work
I
on
almost
that.
hate that I feel like sometimes because I've had situations where I break up with someone and I'm like, hey, here are the reasons why. And they're like, no, don't do this. I can fix those.
Yeah, but also
I'm like,
I just can't be guilt tripped.
So ladies, if he wanted to, he would.
Yeah.
Right? So if I give you multiple opportunities while we're in a relationship to fix something, and I'm going to go out of my way to like, I'm not just going to leave little hints and clues around. I'm
Yeah.
going to physically say, hey, I want flowers. I need this from you. I need this from you. And if you're consistently not giving that to me, I'm going to leave the relationship.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you why when I do, but I don't necessarily feel like
It's crazy though when you even do that during the relationship. They're like, "Oh, where'd this come from?" You know, when you end
Yeah.
up breaking up for like the same shit. I was like, "Oh, the stuff that I've been voicing the last 2 months that you haven't
yeah,
been
the
doing."
things that I have
Like-
told you consistently
and I
for
was
the
like, I
past
don't-
4 months that I need from you,
Yeah,
and
and
you're
they still
just
act oblivious.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's a whole like victim mentality
Yeah.
versus a dude that's like, shit, you know what, she's right. So if a guy really cares about you, if he really wanted to, he would. He would make the time, he'd make the effort.
Facts.
I really quickly, because I know we've got to end soon, but I watched something that was a woman that was talking about, she was in a seminar with Michelle Obama when Barack was president.
oh yeah, you were telling me about
And
this.
there was like this loud noise overhead. And Michelle was like, oh, yeah, Barack told me he was going to be going so and so around this time of the day. And if the fucking president of the United States can take 10 minutes out of like 5 minutes, 10 seconds, how long does it take to send a fucking text message, right?
Yeah.
If the president of the United States can send his wife a text message on updating her on what he's doing for the day, any man can.
And
So for
fly a
those-
plane over her like
for
that.
those ladies out there that's like letting these dudes make all of these excuses, oh, I got busy. No, if he wanted to, he would. Like when I was dating the guy who was a pilot, he was flying for like 14 hours a day sometimes. He would make sure to make a point to message me when he woke up. Hey, today's going to be a crazy day. I'm going to be flying for 14 hours. Just want to tell you good morning and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Facts.
And I might get his good morning text at 4:00 in the afternoon when he woke up. Like it just depended on his flight schedule.
Yeah.
But I would have something similar when he was going to bed. Hey, today was crazy. I'm so sorry I didn't get to talk to you. I'm really looking forward to talking to you on X day. Blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Like
Communication
communication
is sexy.
and it's not hard. So for all of the girls out there, because I hear this a lot from my female friends where these dudes are blowing them off and they're like, no, it's okay. He was just really busy. It takes seconds.
Yeah.
To
To
send
let
a
you
text
know,
message.
I'm going to be busy today. I'll
If
text
he
you
wanted
tonight.
to, he would.
Yes.
Because he has the time.
And he needs to be
You know, this
mindful
dude's
of
going
your
to the
time.
bathroom and he's sitting on the toilet for 20 minutes, however long dudes sit on the toilet, and he's not sending you a text message. Like, it's not that
Thinking
hard.
of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Straight up.
Things like that just
Do better.
drive me crazy. So, yes.
Excuses.
Normalize doing what's best for you. Like, I think
Communication
we can
is
say
definitely
that.
key, but you also have needs in terms of how you process things, and
And you don't have to
and
explain yourself to people.
Yeah, but I would rather you be able to sit back and process your own emotions and know why you're upset
Yes.
than cater to his need of communication right at that moment, his
Yeah.
demand of communication right at that moment, because you got to know yourself in that situation and know why you're having that reaction.
Well, maybe the reason I am the way that I am is the first like serious relationship I was in. If I would take more than like 15 or 20 minutes to text my boyfriend back,
Be
he
on
would
your ass.
message me like, who are you hanging out with that you can't talk to me?
Ew, dumped immediately.
Dude, I was sleeping. I would be
immediately.
like spending time with my friends or my family, and I would like want to put my phone down, and it was this anxious thing where I'm like, oh no, I can't put my phone down. If he messages me and I don't respond, I'm gonna get in trouble. That's abuse.
Yeah, and it
That
sucks
is
because
abuse.
it sucks because he does that for one of two reasons. Either he's doing the same thing he's
he's
accusing
cheating.
you of,
Yeah.
or he has the trauma of that being done to him in
Probably
the
both.
past. Either way, need to work on it, buddy. That's a you
Yeah.
problem. It's not a me
Yeah.
problem. It's a projection of you. So
No, and one of the like sexiest things is when a guy accepts and appreciates and respects the fact that you have a life, you have commitments, you have obligations, you have a job, you have
Yes.
work, and they're like, "Hey, look, I know you're probably busy. Just wanted to update you. Like, here's what I've got going on.
And
and even like." Dudes, if you're going to be out of pocket for a few days, if you've got a couple of like rough days, just giving her a heads up. Hey, I just wanted to let you know I've got a couple really busy days of work ahead of me. I'm just letting you know.
I'll check in morning and night.
Yeah,
or
I'll check in with you as soon as I
a few
can, but I
days,
just wanted to let you know I'm going to be MIA for a couple of days.
Yeah.
That is sexy.
Yeah, it really is.
And also, this might be my little toxic tip of the day, but I don't necessarily think it would be wrong to do that anyway.
Yeah.
So,
like
if
have those days
you're-
to yourself?
Yeah, if you're in an early stage of a relationship, like, hey, I've got a couple of busy days ahead of me.
Yeah.
Because I feel
That's
like
also a very you thing, I feel like. Like
Well,
you just would love that too.
I
you
feel
know?
like one of the things that people do wrong is they make themselves too available. Mm-hmm. So especially early in a relationship where you're texting constantly or you're talking constantly and you just have that constant stream of communication, let that happen for a couple of days.
But you're going to get used to that. And then the point where that starts to drift off, you're going to think it's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's
so
where-
I think
that's
it's
where that
important to
attachment
take
style-
those regular breaks of saying, hey, I'm going to be busy for a few days. Like that almost ups your attraction factor. And that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest things that I tell like my guy friends.
And it gives your partner that security.
Don't do this if you're in an established relationship, if you're in a long-term relationship. Do not do anything like this because that's playing games, right? You don't want to play games with your partner.
No.
But if you're in the early stages of a relationship, you don't want to make yourself overly available. So I have a
agree with
guy
that.
friend that I'm kind of like talking through, you know, some dating stuff with his female friend. And I'm like, he's like messaging me like, oh, she asked me to hang out on Friday. I'm like, it's Wednesday. You're busy.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I'm not busy on Friday. I'm like, but you
need to portray that you
Find
are.
something to do.
Yeah. Get together with your
Offer an
friends. Do something.
alternative. Friday doesn't work for me. How about Sunday? Like,
Yep. Always offer an alternative. Don't play
Yes.
games and say, oh, I'm not busy that day. Oh, I'm not busy that day. Oh, I'm not busy that. No. Offer an
but
alternative.
you need to have your own life going on.
Yeah.
So if you don't have something else that you have regularly doing, find something.
Yeah.
Take a class.
Yeah. Work on yourself.
Yeah, go to the gym. Take a boxing class. Like, do any number of things, but you should be having a life outside of that partner. One of the biggest issues that I have, because I had this with that toxic first relationship where it was like, I can't live without this person.
Oof.
I don't want to be in a relationship like that.
No, I don't want my partner to say
I
that.
want to be in a relationship with someone who values me and who chooses to have me in their life. Like, hey, I choose you. I don't have you in my life because I feel like I have to have you. Because those are the
They have
types
to
of
know
people
their
that
own
have
worth.
to have someone, right? So that's someone that doesn't necessarily value you for you. They just need to be in a relationship. They need
They
to
don't
have someone
value
to talk to.
themselves.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be
having
alone with
that
yourself.
person that says, hey, I have a completely fulfilled life. I'm very happy outside of our relationship. But what you bring to the table within our relationship is like icing on the cake, right? So you want someone that is well-rounded and fulfilled in their life outside of their relationship. So if that's not you, find ways for that to be you.
And
Take a class, find a
accountability is
hobby.
huge too. Like having a partner that can hold themselves accountable for the stuff that they do, and
Having
not
goals.
not the victim mentality stuff. Like if you call out some stuff that you don't like that they're doing, and they don't go, you know what, you're right.
You're right.
I need to work on that.
I should have
and I
done
will.
better. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Let me do
accountability
better.
is honestly communication and accountability are the two sexiest things to me.
Yeah.
If you can admit you're wrong dude, I forgive you. Right then and there. It's so hard for, at least in my experience, it's so hard for a man to admit he's wrong.
Well, and one of the easiest things is to be like, oh, damn, my bad. Like, I won't do that again. I'll work on that.
Yeah, how hard is it? Like,
Yeah.
it's like a 3-sentence thing.
Versus
and then we're
other
like off your back.
relationships and situations I've been in where I'm like, hey, this upsets me. And the person is like, well, you do this, and this to make upset me. And I'm like, okay, so I was trying to have a constructive conversation. But if you want to have a fight, we can have a fight.
It turns
That's
me so
cool.
off. Yeah.
Let's fight instead. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Full send it.
Yeah.
No, so I think normalizing taking care of yourself.
Yeah, prioritizing yourself and knowing, and there's nothing wrong.
No one's ever going to love you as much as you love you.
Retweet. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with taking time to understand how you feel.
Correct.
Because they should be doing the same thing.
Correct. And sometimes, not just women, men do this too. Sometimes you overreact.
Yeah. And you need 30 minutes to calm the hell down.
Sometimes you get really upset about something, and
it's
30
some
minutes
things are
later, you're like,
yeah.
I was hungry.
Some things are very triggering too. Just trauma stuff that you have, and it's your job. It's not their job. It's your job to know why you are triggered by certain things. And it's also your job.
It's not something that you should have to tell your partner, hey, you can't do this anymore because that's a trigger to me.
No. Yep.
That's something that you say, hey, I'm actively working on this. This is a trigger for me, but here are some things that you could do to make this easier.
Yeah. And it's all about intention.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you know their intention as well.
Yeah.
And it's not a thing like it triggers, like them not texting back really quick. You got to separate the fact that your ex did that and was cheating on you. You know what I mean? Like, they're probably not doing that. You need to be able to, like, trust your partner as well, but also you can communicate that. Like,
well, and that's
like,
why
hey, my last relationship, they did this. I need a little more reassurance at the moment because I'm still healing.
Well, and that's why one of my, like, favorite things I've done is, like, on a first or second date, I'm like, hey, what's your trauma? And he's like, what?
Trauma
I'm like,
dumping
seriously,
date.
no, what's your trauma? Like, I want to hear what are the bad, horrible, horrific things that have happened to you, because I want to know, like, how, not why or, like, why it's happened. I don't necessarily need to hear the story, but I want to hear about how you've grown from that.
Yeah.
So I had an ex who was like, oh, I've been cheated on a bunch of times.
Or you can watch how they go off about it too. You can kind of be observant of how they handle that question.
And if
because
he's
if
like,
they're going
if
off
he's like,
on some
every
girl,
girl I've ever dated is trash.
yeah, they're like, the last girl I dated, oh, she was such a bitch. She did this, she did that. Like, just going off on her. You're like,
That's
okay,
a
well,
quick way to not get a second date.
yeah, you're not over it, so I'm gonna head home. Like, go handle that trauma first, please.
I'm gonna
You're
give
still in
you
love
a
with her, aren't you?
recommendation for my therapist. Here's a phone number for you.
You're still in love with her, aren't you?
Oh my
just
God.
going off. Like, okay, well,
You're
I've healed.
obviously not over that
Yeah.
situation.
all right.
So I think that's gonna wrap it for the day.
that was a good one, I think. All
Thank
right.
y'all for joining us this week.
Yes.
We really appreciate y'all.
And if you haven't seen our last episode, it's only going to be on YouTube because of the little game show that we played.
YouTube. It's
So-
a game show. We played Toxic or Non-Toxic. And I
Yeah.
think next week we're going to
dab
try to
thing.
do Truth or Dab. So we're going to have a few more friends on. And we're going to try to add a little bit of, like, spiciness, quite literally, to this podcast. So if you guys
That'd be fun.
like anything recently that we've done, let us know. If
you like the
hate
panel.
anything, let us know.
All the things. Okay.
All the things.
So I say
Okay,
that. I say that
thanks,
so much.
bye.
I'm gonna throw the socials really quick.
They're in our description now.
Oh, we've upgraded to that. Okay. Well, still, it's at the Pink Flag Pod on
Check our description for the links.
YouTube, Spotify, Audible, Podchaser, Instagram, TikTok. There you go. I did it for us really quick.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye.